All right, guys, I'm going to do a reaction to 3 horrific true restaurant horror stories by Mr. Nightmare. Thank you for the support, Ray Burr. Like always, bro. Let's go ahead and check it out. 3 horrific true restaurant horror stories.
The video's theme is restaurant stories because of today's sponsor, Factor 75. You get 50%.
Sorry, I got to skip those little advertisements.
When I was 25, I went on a solo trip to Rio de Janeiro. My favorite DJ
Rio
that
de
weekend.
Janeiro? What the heck is that?
I always wanted to go anyway. I've traveled solo many times in my life and never had any issues. Airbnbs aren't expensive a little outside of the city.
How many of you guys have been watching my channel since the Guard Shack days when I used to do live streams off my freaking phone in the Guard Shack? Oh, gosh. Those were the days, right?
And the one I was staying at was very nice and comfortable. When I was 25, I went on a solo trip to Rio de Janeiro. My favorite DJ would be there that weekend.
Yeah, solo trip? That sounds sketchy in itself. I know traveling by yourself, people do it, but I'd rather travel with a friend or family member, not like travel by myself.
And I always wanted to go anyway. I've traveled solo many times in my life and never had any issues. Airbnbs aren't expensive a little outside of the city, and the one I was staying at was very nice and comfortable. It was its own little one-floor house, but the whole inside was very modern and clean. The Friday that I landed, I unpacked at the Airbnb, grabbed dinner, and went to the rooftop venue where the DJ would be performing. The first day and night all went well.
I remember
met some
that,
really
Ray.
cool people at the rooftop. James, Ethan, and Jess. Ethan and Jess were dating. James, I guess, was third wheeling on the trip. The next day, I met up with them as they were also on a trip here. We got brunch together.
Is that normal? I've never gone on a trip solo, like vacation by myself, but is that normal for like, if you go on vacation somewhere and you rent an Airbnb or something for there to be like other people there? Is that fairly normal? Or can you like rent an Airbnb like where you get your own room, or like, well, I guess you'd have your own room, but there's like other people staying at the house? Complete strangers? I don't know if I would like that, because it's like, yeah, you have your own bedroom. You could probably lock the door, but it's a whole ass like house. There's other rooms in the house and there's other people. There's complete strangers you don't know. I don't know if I'd like that. Oh, it's okay, Yoshi. I started the stream a little late, bro. But hey, I started the stream right at midnight my time. It's 12:49 here. What better time to react to scary videos than, you know, late at night or the middle of the night? Oh, thanks, Chelsea.
Checked out some of the sights together, like the Christ Redeemer and Sugarloaf Mountain, and then we hit the beaches. Unfortunately, they had tickets that they had already bought to another show that night, which I couldn't go to. So I was back to my solo ventures, which was fine. I still found things to do. Eventually, when I was hungry, I walked back in the direction of the Airbnb.
Hey, sorry, Z-Man, I thought I said thank you, bro. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's hard to catch everything in the live chat and watch the video. I thought I said thank you. Sorry if I didn't.
Towards the outside of the city. On the way back, I stopped at a restaurant I found. I can speak a little Portuguese, but I'm by no means fluent.
I don't know any
I tried to keep to places where people
Portuguese.
seemed to speak English while I was alone. The menu on the window had some
sorry.
English writing,
Did I say
so I
pork?
went inside.
Portuguese.
This restaurant was kind of small and dark. A lot of the restaurants in the area were expensive, but this one seemed affordable.
That's how you say
so I
it.
stayed. The dining space was very long and narrow. It wasn't really busy. There were a few people sat further down at a couple tables. Then there was a man seated at a table basically next to mine. He was about 50. I wondered if he was another tourist. He and I were the only 2 people seated alone in here.
You are welcome for
the
that
server
$5.
came over and initially spoke
Smiley
in
face.
Portuguese, and I asked in Portuguese if he speaks English, and he said yes. From there on, I ordered
No, Yoshi, strangely, man, I've done like 4 or 5 scary reaction streams, a couple last week and this week. No Nuke's Top 5 videos have been requested. The 5 newest Nuke's Top 5 videos I have not watched, but when I do these scary reaction streams, I just react to whatever's requested, and been a lot of Mr. Nightmare and other stuff. So no Nuke's Top 5 in a while. Just kind of interesting.
In English. I noticed the man at the other table, looking over, watching as I ordered.
Oh, gosh.
It was kind of weird. When the server walked away...
It's always weird when you're at a restaurant and there's someone just like staring at you or watching you. It's kind of weird.
Taking my order, the man said in English with a Portuguese accent that my Portuguese sounded good.
What's up, Jason?
I said, thank you. And he started talking to me in Portuguese, as if giving me a lesson. I think he thought he was coming off as charming, but it was annoying and creepy. I kept looking down at my phone to act distracted, but he'd keep talking to me, both in English and in Portuguese.
I'd be like, bro, leave me alone. I'm trying to eat dinner. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone.
I'd humor him to be nice and not create awkwardness, and I tried my best to converse with him in Portuguese, as he'd correct my mistakes while trying to speak. The conversation was basically where I'm from, why I'm here, what I did today, and where I'm staying. I kinda just made up that I'm staying with a friend. What really creeped me out was when he told me how sexy I am when I talk in Portuguese.
What?
I was hoping he was leaving soon.
Oh, jeez.
But a part of me died inside.
That's
when I saw
weird.
the waiter bring him his food. Luckily, my food didn't take long. I got some pork stew dish. The man asked how it was.
Imagine you're just eating dinner and some guy in a frickin'... You're just on vacation, like you don't even live in this country. He's like, you're sexy. Be like, bro, leave me alone. I'm trying to frickin' eat my food. I don't need your creepy ass coming up to me being like, you're sexy when you speak in Portuguese. Leave me the hell alone.
I told him fine. He stopped talking as much now that he was eating, thank God. I ate quickly. When I was done, I hurriedly asked for the check just because I didn't want to converse with this man anymore. The man also asked for the check right after I did, which I found...
Oh, God, no. This guy asked for the check to get the hell out of there. Z-Man! Thank you, bro. Z-Man's on a roll tonight. Thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. That is weird, though. There's this weird guy, calls you sexy, and you ask for the check because you want to get the hell out of there. And then that guy asks for his check to go right when you do? That's a little weird.
So annoying and strange. He wasn't even done eating. Once I paid, I got up and walked out. The man said something in Portuguese, but all I said was bye and kept walking. It was dark out now, and the streets were...
Don't you guys think that's a little weird? This freaking creepy guy's gonna follow him. I know it. This weird dude who was like, kept staring at the guy, he's gonna freaking follow him.
A little less lively. I was walking for a while when I came to an intersection.
Hey, be nice, DW, be nice.
While waiting to cross, I noticed the man from the restaurant across the street. He was definitely looking at me, but looked away the opposite direction when I noticed him. Maybe he had to walk the same way. It wasn't that unlikely. I continued to walk back, and as I was getting closer, I kept turning back just to see if he was still in sight.
Good one, Z-Man. Z-Man said yash, but with a Z. How would you say that? Zesh? Zesh. Instead of yesh, it's Zesh. That's Z-Man's way of saying yesh, but he says it with a Z because he's Big Z. Zesh.
Wasn't. I arrived to the Airbnb. I got to the front door and looked around one more time, and I noticed way down the block that man standing on the corner by the
you're all good,
intersection.
DW. I was just saying be nice.
In this direction. I felt my heart drop.
I'm not mad. I was just joking around.
I let myself inside the house and locked the door.
Oh my
then
gosh.
I closed all the blinds. Now he...
Guys, personally, in a situation like this, what would you guys do? If there's some guy making you feel uncomfortable, and then it's obvious that he's following you, I would not go back. Like, this guy's on vacation here, so... He's on vacation, so he's not even going to his house. He's going to the Airbnb where he's staying at. I would contact... I guess just contact the local police. If he's on a solo trip by himself, he doesn't have any friends or family to be like, hey, this dude's being weird following me. Guess you'd have to contact the local police, and hopefully your Portuguese is good enough to communicate and be like, yo, this guy's following me. He's creeping me out. I would not go back to where you're staying, because once he knows where you're staying at, he'd try to break in, come back with other people, and do God knows what. I would have had contacted the police.
He knew where I was staying. I panicked and called my dad and told him.
Yeah, see, you just said that. Now the guy knows where you're staying at the freaking Airbnb. You literally led him right to the Airbnb where you're staying. Now he knows where you're staying. You need to leave or go somewhere else, bro.
To just be alert and make sure everything is locked, and to maybe keep a knife
Exactly,
by me.
Clarissa.
It was a Saturday night, and my flight wasn't until late the next day, so I did want to go out. Eventually, I called an Uber to a bar in the downtown area, and I went to a venue having a house music night. I was there for maybe a couple hours before calling an Uber back to the Airbnb. When I got back, I let myself into the house kind of drunk. I sat down on the couch just to relax for a bit.
Now the dude's drunk. He went out to have a few drinks, party, have a little fun. That creeper guy's in the frickin' Airbnb. I could tell you that right now. He snuck in somehow. And now you're frickin' drunk. So when you're drunk, your senses are all out of whack. You know, you're not going to be able to fight back like you normally would if you were sober. Oh, that freaking creepy guy is going to be in there. I freaking know it.
But I noticed something. I heard the sound of the outside, and then I saw the blinds to one of the windows blowing from the breeze.
Yep.
The window in the kitchen was open.
The freaking window's open.
Windows shut because
oh
the air
my
conditioning
God.
was running. I immediately knew to get up and leave the house quickly.
Yeah, exactly, DW. Being drunk is just going to make things worse. I feel like it'd be a lot easier to be abducted or kidnapped if you're freaking drunk.
The emergency number and did my best to articulate to the operator in Portuguese that there was a home break-in. The police showed up in a matter of minutes, and I came out from behind the bush I was hiding in across the street when they did. One of the police officers did speak a little bit of English, so I was able to tell.
Yeah, Yoshi, these storytellers are all the same in their actions of getting drunk in the worst possible time, and then someone's following you.
Him that the window was opened and I was being followed earlier. The police entered the house and yelled things I didn't
Guys, I love Mr. Nightmare, but how many of these story submissions, you know, I think Mr. Nightmare has an email where probably thousands of people submit their stories because he has over 6 million subscribers, so I bet you he gets hundreds of story submissions a week. A lot of Mr. Nightmare's videos say like 3 horrific true restaurant horror stories. They can't all be true, you know. I don't know. Some of these stories are like, are they really true, or did someone email Mr. Nightmare and just like make up some story? And the thing is, Mr. Nightmare wouldn't know if the story's true or not because he's just getting like an email story submission for his channel. There's no way to verify if the story was like actually real or if someone just came up with a good, interesting story, you know what I mean, to submit to Mr. Nightmare. It's hard to know.
understand. The moment I saw them walking outside with a man from the restaurant in handcuffs was the most shocking moment of my life. The mix of emotions I felt, disbelief, yet relief, but also horrified. If I hadn't called the cops, if I had gone into the bedroom where he was probably hiding, I didn't even want to think about it. He was taken away. And I never had to see his ugly, creepy face again. I'm glad he was stupid enough to not close the window behind him. I should have listened to my dad and locked all the windows as well. I just never imagined he would actually close.
I'm sorry, guys. That's the first thing I'm doing, especially if I'm on vacation somewhere that like I'm not familiar with. I'm going to make sure the freaking door's locked and all the windows are locked as well. That's the first thing I'm going to freaking do is lock all the windows and doors.
I'm through one though. I left the next day and haven't returned to Brazil since.
Yeah, true, Yoshi, but his channel's based on, true stories. So even if they're not, maybe not all, they can't all be true. Hundreds of stories. There's got to be a few in there probably made up, but they're still entertaining.
It was the holidays. Most of my friends were away, so I had decided to look for a part-time job to earn a bit of money. After waiting around for about a week, I finally got a call from a nearby restaurant asking me to come in for a trial. I had a fair bit of waitering experience, so I wasn't too surprised when the owner offered me the position. The place had a really creepy atmosphere to it. It was small, dimly lit, and every so often, a terrible smell would circulate through the air.
Ew.
It wasn't somewhere I would have usually gone for, but I needed the money and kept reminding myself that I'd only be here.
A terrible smell would circulate the air in the restaurant? That sounds a little sus.
Until college started back up. Anyway, it was around 10 p.m., and I was out the front by myself, cleaning the cutlery while I waited for the last table to leave. It was a table of 4 big guys. They were pretty rough looking. In fact, if I passed them on the street, I would have assumed they were homeless. Half an hour passed, and they finally got up to leave. I smiled as one of them came to the register to pay.
You hear yelling upstairs. Is Bree okay? I don't hear any yelling. Oh, gosh. Bree better not try to freaking jump scare me again or something.
That's $42.50 altogether, I said. He immediately handed over a bunch of crinkled notes with a big grin on his face.
I didn't hear any yelling.
Fortunately, I had seen this kind of...
Last I checked, Bree's in bed. It's 1 a.m. here. This is a really late night stream, guys. See the title of the stream: Reacting to Scary Videos Late at Night. I'm pretty sure Bree's sleeping.
I've looked before and braced myself for the cheesy pickup line. He said to me, "You doing anything tonight, cutie?"
Frickin' Big Z-Man's trying to scare me.
Bringing himself closer to the register.
Oh gosh, not some creepy
"Thank you,
guy.
have a good night," I replied, trying to make it clear that I was not interested. He laughed and walked out the door, mumbling something under his breath as he went. As soon as he was out of sight, I quickly cleared the dishes, cleaned down, and got changed out of my staff uniform. I waved goodbye to the last kitchen hand as I walked out the door and into the night. My house was only a couple of blocks away, so every night I walked to save gas. I had only walked for about 5 minutes when a loud whistle startled me. I looked off into the direction it came from and froze in fear. It was the same guy from the restaurant.
No!
He was on the opposite side of the street, signaling for me to come over with a large grin on his face.
He was whistling at this lady? That's freaking weird, bro. He was just like waiting outside for her. That means he knew that she walked to work and walked home to save gas. So she's walking on the freaking road or the sidewalk by herself. This creepy guy's whistling at her. I hope she has freaking pepper spray.
I took a pause before my instincts kicked in, and I started to quickly walk away. My house was still about 10 minutes away, and I could feel him getting closer with every step.
Oh no, he's gonna freaking follow her.
Thoughts were racing around in my head, knowing very well that this could end badly. I turned the corner and started to sprint down the footpath. I felt tears gather up in my eyes as loud footsteps followed closely behind me. I didn't look behind out of fear, when all of a sudden, a hand firmly grabbed my shoulder and yanked me backwards.
What?
I turned to see the man. His face was red, and his grin had morphed into a furious expression. He put his finger up to his lips. "Don't scream or I'll cut you," he whispered. At this point, I was ready to accept my fate, when out of nowhere, I felt a sudden burst of rage explode inside of me. I grabbed his face and dug my nails deep into his eyes. The man let out a loud, horrible noise as he clenched his face in pain. I took this chance and made a run for it.
Yo, is that Ian behind you? What? Bree's in bed and all my kids are in bed. It's 1 a.m. here. I'm the only one awake. Z-Man's creeping me out a little bit. Oh, gosh.
I ran all the way back to my flat, and after struggling to put the key in the door, I managed to get inside. As soon as I shut the door, I collapsed down onto the ground out of exhaustion and started to cry. My roommates all rushed down the stairs to see if I was okay. After walking me to a couch, I explained what happened. They were all shocked, whilst at the same time happy to see that I escaped from the man. I rang up the restaurant and quit the next day.
Yeah, it does,
It was
Ryan.
a shame, really. The owners were so kind, and I really didn't mind the place. But I was too terrified to return, knowing that that man could be waiting for me. I've started back at college now, and I'm slowly recovering from that incident.
You should go trick-or-treating like a half hour, see what happens. You mean just me or with my kids? Oh my gosh. You imagine me live streaming trying to go trick-or-treating.
Sometimes I do get nightmares just thinking about what may have happened if I hadn't attacked that man like I did.
I don't think my cat's in my office, Z-Man. Story 3.
I was 19 and strapped for cash, so I temporarily took a second job working as a waitress at a diner. It was open till 3 a.m. on weeknights and 24 hours on the weekends. On the weekends, it was always a bunch of drunk kids at night that would come after they left the bars. During the week, most people that came late night were people working overnight shifts or just getting off from work.
Yes.
I would do the overnight shifts twice a week. Anything more than that, I probably would have passed out from a lack of sleep. I'd be the only server past 10 o'clock on the weekdays because there wasn't an abundance of customers, especially at the later hours of the night. One night, a larger man came in alone, around like 1 a.m. There was only one other customer in the restaurant at the time, I believe. I seated him. He started talking to me in a flirtatious way right away. It was always the older, unattractive ones that would be the most flirty. I had to deal with it with a smile.
It was always the older, unattractive guys who were most flirty, of course.
Though, as I basically was working on tips. He ordered a burger and a milkshake. Then he told me his name, Trevor. Trevor would keep staring at me from across the diner as I would be sitting doing things on my phone. He was the only customer left at this point now. He called me by my name over to the table. I went over with a smile, and he asked for the check. He left after paying, and when I went to collect the tip and clean the table, I noticed along with the $5 tip, he left his number and a winking face on the bill.
Oh gosh, freaking creep.
I crumpled it up and threw it away. I thought that was the end of Trevor and I's story, but it wasn't. A few nights later, in came Trevor again, super late at night when no one else was in the place.
Oh, that's... I feel bad for waitresses, especially women who work as a waitress, because, you know, if you're a waitress at a certain restaurant and some creepy old guy comes in and he like leaves his phone number and he's like, winky face, hey, call me, and then you don't call him, he knows where you work. So he can come back anytime. And if you're not working, he'll come back another day. If he keeps coming back, he'll come back at a time eventually where, you know, you're working on your shift. And then it slowly becomes harassment if the person won't leave you alone. That would get freaking annoying, you know?
I greeted him and sat him to a table. He actually hit me with a, "How's my favorite server doing tonight?" which was odd considering I only served him one time. He again started some conversation with me, and I was way too exhausted for this, but I had to put a smile on my face and entertain it. I thought maybe this time he'd give a better tip if I acted interested, but that backfired.
Yeah, like I'm saying, guys, you know, there's men who work at restaurants who, you know, waitress or whatever. But I always feel bad for women because it seems like it's always the creepy old guys hitting on women and they're not interested. Yeah, it can happen to a guy as well, but it seems like if you look at the percentage, it's probably happens to women waitresses a lot more than men. It's always some creepy old guy hitting on the poor lady just trying to do her job, you know. She's not there to flirt with you, bro. She's there to make money and go home.
He mistook my friendliness as interest.
What's up, Shark?
Invited me to come on his boat sometime. I asked what kind of boat it is to play.
Invited her to come on his boat? Well, that sounds not safe.
Long, and and he showed me a picture of this tiny little thing that could barely fit 2 people based on the looks of it.
Oh gosh,
Said,
he's
"Oh,
not
wow,
even
my dad has
rich.
a boat too." I should have said boyfriend looking back now, but I was trying to get a good tip out of him. He asked for my number, and I told him I'm not allowed to give customers my number. I could get fired. He actually believed this, but after he left, he once again left his number on the bill, this time with a note saying something along the lines of, "I bet you were just shy last time. Don't be shy this time. You can text me. It'll be our little secret."
That's weird, guys. See, that's weird. It'll be our little secret. Guys, at what point does this become harassment in your guys' opinion? Like, what do you do here? You know, this older man, he technically didn't do anything wrong legally. He's just like, here's my phone number, text me. But if he keeps pushing the issue of giving his phone number to you and you're not interested, like, you can't ban him from maybe you could ban him from the restaurant, but then he's going to like wait outside and stalk you. It's like a bad situation.
Followed by another winking face. He again only tipped $5.
You know what I mean, guys? Because then if you piss him off, like if you tell the restaurant owner or the restaurant manager, hey, this so-and-so guy's making me uncomfortable. If they say, sir, you can no longer come back to this restaurant, you're making our waitress, uncomfortable, then that's just going to piss him off. And there might be a side of him that's not so nice, if you guys know what I mean. It's like, what do you do here? He legally didn't really do anything wrong other than just being a creep. But then you don't want to put the waitress in danger because he knows where you work. Then he could like sit outside and follow you home. You get off your shift, get in your car, start driving. All of a sudden there's some random car following you. Like, there's a lot of different bad outcomes to this situation here. I don't really know like what the safe option is. What do you do? Tell the guy to leave?
This guy was a creep who didn't even tip well. I hope to not see him again. But this wouldn't be a story if I didn't.
Oh yeah, Yoshi, there's always a not so nice side to these charming people. You should quit your job if you're hit on because your life matters more than money. Yeah, true, Vicky, but some people, they got to pay their bills. This lady shouldn't have to lose her job as a waitress because there's some creepo guy who won't leave her alone. It's not her fault.
He came in the next week on another night I was working. It had to be like
Oh gosh, he came back on another night. I bet you he's not going to be nice now. He's going to be like, hey, why haven't you texted me? He's going to start being a little pushy.
2 a.m., and it seemed like he'd always come in right as the place would become empty. Almost like he was sitting in the parking lot, waiting to come when I wouldn't be serving any tables.
That's weird.
This time he came in, and the first thing he said was,
freaking weird.
Call her, right? But he didn't say it with a smile. He said it with a serious face.
I told you, he's going to be mean now.
I'm really flattered, but I really can't text customers.
Why doesn't she just say I'm married or I have a boyfriend, even if it's a lie? Just say, oh, I have a boyfriend or I have a husband. I'm sorry, I'm taken. Just lie. I don't condone lying to people, but in this situation, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm married or I have a boyfriend, and then maybe he'll leave you alone.
He didn't say anything. He just walked out. I was relieved, honestly. I'd rather he just stop coming in. The next day, while at my other job, I got a text from one of the other waitresses asking if I knew who the fat bald guy was.
The fat bald guy.
Why? She told me that he asked for my full name. I asked her if she gave it to him.
No.
And she said yes. I was honestly really upset, and this made...
What? What? One of the other waitresses that she works with, the creepy dude said, why would you give her full name? Now he can look her up on Facebook or something and be like, oh, is she really married? Does she have a boyfriend? Guys, if you get somebody's full name, there's ways on Google and stuff. You type in someone's full name, you can find out where they live, their address. That's very... Oh, that was freaking stupid.
Made me uncomfortable. She said that he claimed he just wanted the name of the really amazing waitress from last night.
Give the first name. Oh, I want the name of the amazing waitress. Oh, that's Sherry. Or that's Jessica. Why would you give her last name? You freaking dumbass.
Later that day, I got a text. It was from Trevor. He said, "Hey, it's Trevor, your favorite customer. I know you said you can't give your number out, so I took it upon myself to get it myself. Now
I told you, you can even find people's phone numbers. He freaking looked her name up on Google and somehow tracked down her phone number.
you didn't break any rules, haha." I was at a loss for words.
God.
I blocked the number and hoped that would be the end of it. But later that week, after I got off from work, I found an envelope tucked under my windshield wiper. I grabbed it and got in my car. Its contents were disturbing. It was a bunch of pictures of me in the diner, taken from the parking lot. The pictures got more disturbing though, when they started being of my apartment and of me standing on my front deck or unlocking the front door. Most disturbing of all was a picture taken through the front window at night.
What?
I drove straight to the police precinct with the photos to report this. These pictures, accompanied with the text I received from him, was damning enough. I stayed at my parents' house that night, and the next day, a detective called that Trevor guy and told him if he continued to contact me, it would be considered harassment and he would be arrested. I still quit the job at the restaurant just to be safe. My lease was up the next month, and so I moved to a new apartment. I didn't want to have any chance of that man finding me again.
Oh my gosh.
He was the first and only true stalker I've ever dealt with in my life.
Are you serious? So in the end, she had to go to the freaking police department. And she had to freaking move? So guys, she had to quit her job and move. She literally had to pack up and move somewhere else because she felt so uncomfortable that even though she contacted the police, this creepy guy could still show up at her house. Oh my gosh. But he still has her full name. Information like that, your phone number, if you move, your address, information like that can be updated on Google and shit. So unfortunately, he still has her full name. Oh gosh. Well, yeah, that's why you don't give out your full name and stuff to random people, especially creepy old men, if you're a woman.